your screens the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, departing from the Parliament to Rashtrapati Bhavan after delivering the address to the joint session of Indian Parliament, with that starting the budget session of the Parliament. With that, budget session of the Parliament begins. President Murmu delivered an hour-long speech which drew multiple applauses from the parliamentarians from both houses of Parliament, the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Her speech was inclusive and agenda setting, outlining key economic policies, Modi government's legislative priorities, various governance initiatives and nation's landmark achievements in various domains such as sports, space, artificial intelligence, etc. Live visuals of Honorable President's cavalcade departing from the premises of India's Parliament en route to Raisena Hill, as it will make its way into the Rashtrapati Bhavan, or the President's house. We also saw the Vice President, Honorable Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, reading out the English version of President's address to the joint session of Parliament. Just to quickly go through the salient features of President's address, an hour-long address, as we stay with these live visuals of President's cavalcade making its way to iconic Raisena Hill. Honorable President started her speech by paying rich tribute to the former Prime Minister of the country, Dr. Manmohan Singh. She also expressed condolences over the loss of lives at Mahakumbh in Prayagraj. After that, President enumerated various government policies and initiatives and steps taken, as she elaborated on various policies, steps towards shaping the very vision and dream of Viksit Bharat, or developed India, by 2047, which will also culminate with marking the 100 years of India's independence. Honorable President spoke about Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. She also talked about how this government is committed to these schemes, the welfare of farmers, downtrodden, poor, etc. She spoke about Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, Ayushman Bharat, health insurance, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, etc. President spoke about government taking big strides for the development with much speed. She also spoke about how youth is centric to the overall development of the country, and also the internship opportunities that the government is committed to provide to the youth. Viksit Bharat vision, or the vision for 2047 developed India, was central to Honorable President's address to the joint session of the Parliament, where she also touched upon the significance and importance of Jan Bhagidari, or public participation. President talked about the digital revolution, how India as a nation is on course to becoming the third largest developing economy with much accelerated speed. Reform, perform, transform, and Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas being the government's mantra, or the vision for future. Live visuals on your screen. President's cavalcade, Honorable President making marching towards Raisena Hill and Rashtrapati Bhavan after addressing the joint session of the Parliament. With that, we start the budget session. We were just going through the salient features of Honorable President's speech, which was much inclusive and agenda setting, lasted for almost an hour. In fact, drew applauses on multiple occasions from the joint session, where the President touched upon the government's key legislative policies, governance agendas. Let's quickly go through those highlights. President in her joint session spoke about various government schemes, perform, reform, transform, and Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, with that starting the budget session, one nation, one election, and many key decisions that have been taken. Also the delivery of modern infrastructure and advanced technology. She also spoke about the aspirations of the middle class, which this government is committed to take care of. Benefits of the Ayushman Bharat scheme is what President talked about, besides other schemes, and how millions and millions of Indians have been lifted out of poverty with the help and aid of these schemes. President also hailed government steps taken on one nation, one election and Waqf bill also. Besides that, President also spoke about how the government aims to make India a global innovation powerhouse, and how India is leading the artificial intelligence mission that has already started, and India leading the way in AI space as well. This President's speech also spoke about how the development in space industry is at its pinnacle, hailing ISRO's 100th lift as well. Developed countries are impressed with India's UPI application and DigiLocker, and how India has now become the third largest country in the world in terms of metro network crisscrossing the country. With that, President highlighted also the strides that have been taken in telemedicine space. Along with that, President also spoke about how nation's goal is to have a modern and self-reliant agricultural system. She also spoke about self-reliance in defense sector, stressed upon the challenges specifically in the cybercrime domain, and how cybersecurity is pivotal in that space. She spoke about railway and aviation industries making massive progress, and how the custom duty on cancer medication has also been waived off. In her joint session, President of India recounted country's infrastructural progress, specifically in railways, a sector in aviation space as well, and in metro, and how government is working towards development of the northeastern states as well. Besides that, in the joint session, President spoke about the government schemes. She elaborated on these government schemes, particularly to accelerate the development of the backward sections of society, with the government mantra focusing on reform, perform and transform being the pillars of this development agenda, and how this government has taken historic actions and decisions to protect the national borders, and how this government has ensured internal security remains to be the top priority. And let's go to Shekhar Iyer now, as we stay with these high points and highlights of President's address to the joint session of Parliament. Shekhar Iyer, quickly over to you. Overall messaging, an inclusive and agenda setting speech, but I think the Honorable President touched upon every aspect where the country is making stride, whether it is economics to space. It was encompassing almost all sectors.
Indeed, Shakal, this was a very comprehensive summary of all the steps that the government has taken the past few months, particularly the year that has gone by, and the kind of milestones we have reached, whether it is providing connectivity to Kashmir, or whether it is about putting soon an Indian on the space, particularly the new project where an Indian astronaut will be joining an international space station, and also several other things, particularly various social welfare measures, the advancement of the digital payment system, the penetration of internet connectivity, the road improvement, the several things that the President touched upon showed the government's commitment to bring about quick transformation, both of the rural as well as urban India. Shakal.
Yes. Rural and urban India, and if you could just also speak about the various governance schemes that the President touched, and it was on multiple occasions, whether how we have the schemes and these policies have lifted millions out of poverty, and how this remains to be one of the prime agendas of the current government. Basically, that aspect of last mile delivery.
Absolutely. Particularly, the President talked about Drown Didi. This was a very unique scheme that was launched by the government, where women in villages have been trained to operate drones, which could be used for agricultural purposes. And this Drown Didi, so many women have been trained, where in different rural areas, women teams are actually conducting surveys, are conducting spraying of pesticide, and assessment of the crop area, and which are all important scientific inputs for our farmers. Now, this is one good example where the modern technology, women empowerment, and as well as strengthening our farmers' hands and bringing technology down to the field or the farm level. Several ideas that the government has pursued as a broad macro policy has been reflected in this project. Shakal.
Yes. Shekhar ji, please stay with us. Let me quickly go also across to my colleague Anil Thomas, who's been reporting from Parliament, joining us on phone line. Anil, so would you say that how the nation is marching or taking big strides towards realization of Viksit Bharat or developed India by 2047 was central to the Honorable President's address to the joint session? Anil?
Let's understand the significance of the President's address, because it's of great significance. You know, it sets the tone, especially with regards to the government policy and also the legislative agenda. And it takes place before the budget session of every parliament session. You know, putting the significance of it simply into perspective, it's a parliamentary tradition that's been followed. It focuses on the government's achievement, the policy roadmap that the government has for the next 12 months, the economic and social focus that the President highlighted on, also setting the legislative agenda of what's in store, in this particular session of Parliament, and also the roadmap ahead. And it's also a reflection on the government stance on various issues, that the President has highlighted. And I think if one takes a look at the impact of it, well, the impact, there could be a political significance, a market and economic significance of it, and also a perception with the public, with regards to the address and the message that she's put, especially with regards to Viksit Bharat. The primary focus of all this is looking at the journey that India takes towards Viksit Bharat 2047, that we all are taking giant strides, and the government sparing no effort in taking everybody along. She highlighted the tribals, she highlighted the women power, and she also highlighted the role that youth have to play in helping India move or march towards that dream of Viksit Bharat in 2047. I think the overall highlight of the speech has been touching upon every strata.
Let's decode it. Anil, that point that you raised, a very pertinent point where President spoke about how this government empowers women-led development, and how, because we are talking about Viksit Bharat, youth-centric policies, and the youth, whether they are the young parliamentarians or the youth capital of the nation, are going to be the prime beneficiaries of 2047 Viksit Bharat vision. Anil, and then we go to Shekhar sir. Yes.
Well, the highlight time and again that the President's address has highlighted has been, the role that youth have, the role that women have, especially in this journey that India is undertaking, to achieving that Amrit Kaal of Viksit Bharat that we are all looking at. And I think this particular message that the President highlighted, she once again spoke about the role in every sector of society, be it industries, be it import-export, be it agriculture, that women have risen. And she also highlighted the role that, especially with regards to the armed forces, how, the glass ceiling has been broken by the women, and the role that they have, especially in nation building, and also, that management of, taking care of the home and also taking care of work, a symbiosis which has been perfect and which Indian women have excelled, and it's a role model for the world to emulate and follow. And over and above that, the President's speech today spoke about the upliftment of the people, the common man in particular. And I think Prime Minister also, when he spoke, before the start of the session, he spoke about Ma Saraswati and the role of Ma Saraswati, especially in the upliftment of one and all. The benefit that the government's policies and development models that benefit one and all, which is the highlight. And it also reflects the government's push with regards to helping, the last man standing benefit from the schemes and all the policies that the government decides and prints every time.
Since we're talking about the marginalized, the government's outreach and specific schemes to uplift the marginalized and the downtrodden, that point that Anil raised, Shekhar sir, coming to you, well, again recalling Honorable Prime Minister's that brief media address, he started with invoking the blessings of Goddess Lakshmi, the Indian goddess of wealth and abundance and prosperity, where he said that may she continue to bless those have-nots. But even in the President's address, the aspirations of the middle class were also touched upon, along with government's robust outreach to the tribal population.
Absolutely. When it comes to aspiration, the aspirations of different classes, there are particular mentions about, see, what does the middle class aspire for? They are aspiring for opportunities to better their economic status, opportunities for good quality education for their children and for future generation, opportunities for better health care. And in the president's speech, a specific mention was made how the availability of medical seats for medical education, how it is being increased dramatically so that the availability of doctor, per 1,000 population increases in the next decade. So there are several things, where if you look at the aspiration, if you look at the challenge, and if you see what steps have been taken and what is happening on the ground. And that is why the president's address particularly reflected the view of the Modi government that the era of policy paralysis is over.
Yes, yes. There was a mention, yes.
Yeah, this is a new era where, everything, there is a pillar of economic and social and political stability. Problems have been identified, solutions have been identified, and a holistic view has been taken as far as the problems and solutions. That is why when you see a particular scheme for a particular project or for a particular problem, it also has an holistic element which is covered in other areas. I did mention about Lakpati drone didis, because this is one area where the use of technology for agriculture purposes, one thrust, I would say, a project where the government is very keen that lot of our research that is going on in our agricultural farms and labs is converted to the field.
Yes.
That is, that's a very big project. But along with that, like bringing in the Lakpati drone didi, this has an element of women's social empowerment.
True.
So you can see there are two different things: bringing technology to farmers. The other is empowerment of women. So similarly, the tribal areas, you are seeing the impetus for protecting tribal culture, tribal language, along with the improving the quality of life for our tribal population, whether it is in Madhya Bharat or in the Northeast. Similarly, connectivity. Connectivity is one area which has dramatically transformed the quality of life in our rural areas and interior areas, far-flung areas. And you can see today Northeast is better served and best served by several train services, airport services, and lengthening of highway projects, which have brought those areas lot closer to the rest of India. Shekhar.
Yes, and with that, President touched upon the modern, self-reliant agricultural system is this government's goal. Since you spoke about farmers and the farmers' schemes that are more beneficial to the agricultural sector in a big way, from defense to agriculture, self-reliance, and that point, Anil, coming to you, that India is fast transitioning from Make in India to Make for World. Anil.
If one takes a look at the president's speech and break, that particular speech into various sectors on that she's highlighted, she's first of all spoken largely about the economic progress that the country has made, the rapid growth that we have seen, and also the poverty elevation that, that's come down with almost 25% of, or 25 crore citizens being lifted out of poverty. Moving to economic reforms and initiatives that the government has taken, she highlighted the policy reforms that the government has brought about, be it the bankruptcy, insolvency, or the GST, the infrastructure development that the country has seen. She highlighted Gati Shakti, the national master plan, which was introduced to address many challenges that the government is facing. Also, sectoral advancements that she's highlighted on particular. Manufacturing that's been spoken about for long, that, the numbers don't match up to the steps or the initiatives that the government has taken. She's spoken about manufacturing and services in particular, and how both the amalgamation of traditional as well as emerging sectors, the government is promoting both and helping manufacturing grow. Agriculture, which is the backbone, which is considered to be the backbone of India's growth story. She's spoken about how PM Kisan Samman Nidhi and also other substantial support that are being provided for the farmers, be it in terms of subsidies, that are helping the farmers in particular. And finally, one takes a look at the larger picture, the social welfare and governance that she has highlighted, in particular the good governance that the government does. Also, the success that India has managed to get, especially in space exploration and technology,
Yes.
along with youth and sports, that, the super success that we've had in the summer games in Paris, along with the Paralympic Games, where we've managed to get record medals. And finally, India's role in global leadership. That's something that came at the fag end of her joint address, but one that was significant of especially India hosting the G20.
Yes.
The role that
Anil,
India has purely in terms of a Vishwa Bandhu, a friend for the world in times of need.
Yeah, we'll come to that, but a quick one, Anil, from you. The aspect of the speech which was dedicated to how this government is also committed in making the sports ecosystem more robust, tap them young, where there was a mention of Fit India movement, visions like Fit India movement and other schemes.
Well, Shekhar, looking at, it starts with the Agnivir Yojana, the Agnivir Yojana, which was launched to integrate the youth into the armed forces, initiatives that she spoke about, especially when it comes to targeting the youth, Khelo India, Fit India, which has helped, lead a fitness movement in India. Also, with regards to the top schemes, let's not forget the top schemes that the government has introduced, which was there for the players, now being extended to the coaches too. Also, when one talks about good governance, the government not only has emphasized on good governance, but it also has emphasized on transparency, which is one of the foundation principles which has led to significant economic, benefits and transfers. Look at direct benefit transfer, the DBT that was launched. It transformed the way benefits reach the common man. Looking at how, if one takes a look at the past and today, that the last man standing there, the benefits thanks to, Aadhaar linkages that have been created have helped the common man benefit at large. And I think even when it comes to agriculture, that one particular sector, which is, as I mentioned, the backbone of, India's growth story, substantial financial support in various forms, in various subsidies, which have been extended to the farmers, which are considered to be the game changers. The president highlighting it, and the president also highlighting India's role, especially, in the area of semiconductors, artificial intelligence, solar energy, electric vehicles and electronics, where, PLI schemes were launched, and the ease of doing business in India, which is one of the talking points for investors to time and again look at India. And also the development story when it comes to the metro network, the rail network,
yes,
the highest group in the world.
Yes, let's also get in Shekhar. Yes,
story.
Yeah. Anil, stand by. Let's also get in Shekhar Iyer, senior journalist, with us. He's with us to decode. A veteran journalist like you, sir. I'm sure you've covered multiple such joint addresses by various presidents of the country. Talking about this one in particular, the timings of it, where she also spoke about how this third term of the current ruling dispensation is progressing 3 times faster.
Yeah, Shekhar, just take one example that has been, mentioned by the president in our address today. See, take the quality of rail travel today. The president particularly mentioned that currently 71 Vande Bharat, Amrit Bharat and Namo Bharat trains are operational across the country. And with 17 new Vande Bharat trains and 1 Namo Bharat train added in the past 6 months. The Vande Bharat trains has completely changed our concept of travel. I mean, we have all gone through, experiences of rail travel, which have always left sometimes very, very anxious moments. And today, you can see how the quality of the rail services has improved. At the same time, the effort is on to see that, which the Prime Minister once mentioned from the Red Fort, that he wanted trail experience to be a kind one that will be remembered as something which is done with ease of business. So there are tremendous challenges in improving the quality of services all over the rail network. But the beginning and the speed with which is being undertaken. Today, you can see that all these trains have become very popular. Even in a state like Kerala, there is a heavy booking for Vande Bharat, to travel from one end of Kerala to another end of Kerala. I'm talking of a small state. Now look at those big trunk routes where new coaches have come and these coaches are collision proof in the sense they have been provided with modern technology, with modern comfort, and with facilities for saving water. I'm just giving one example in terms of how in the last 10 years the public experience has changed. So similarly, there are other areas. When there is one point I wanted to mention was about providing homes. See, the last 10 years, we have seen 4 crore houses were built under PM Awas Yojana. Now the work is on to provide another 3 crore houses for the poor. Now look at the scale. I mean, 4 crores and 3 crores. These are not just figures on the paper. These are tremendous changes that is happening, which is going to change the life of the poorest of the poor. I'm mentioning this because on one hand, you have the quality of train services being improved and the safety of train services. On the other hand, very basics. Or take, for instance, the Jal Jeevan Mission, the drinking water mission. There are several things which this government has been trying to push with all energy, that the life changes at all levels across the country.
In tandem with your thought, the application of UPI and DigiLocker, how beneficial, extremely beneficial these applications have been for the people in general by and large. With that point, a quick one, Shekhar sir, before I go to my colleague Anil. Conduct of peaceful polls in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and the unprecedented and historical rail connectivity through Srinagar. Who would have thought that, one day Srinagar will be joined with the rest of the country through rail connectivity? There was a mention, and Honorable President congratulated the people of the valley for smooth conduct of these historical polls, recently concluded historical elections.
Shakal, though these are two separate developments linking of Srinagar to our India's rail network, and the other is the peaceful conduct of elections. These may appear like two different things, but there is a synergy in this happening. Today, people of Jammu and Kashmir have chosen to wholeheartedly participate in the democratic exercise, and we have seen whether it is Lok Sabha elections, whether it is the Assembly elections, there has been a tremendous energy and enthusiasm for participation in the democratic process. And at the same time, several central schemes have been brought to Jammu and Kashmir. Both the mental hurdle as well as the legal hurdle in implementing some of the schemes have been done away with. Today, all facilities are being made available to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. They are seeing for themselves in the last 5 years how the governance, the scale of governance, the method of governance, and the speed. They are able to see for themselves how it has changed. Now, talking about Srinagar, the rail connectivity to Srinagar, this is not simply an extension of a line. This is a tremendous engineering marvel at work.
Yes.
We have seen the challenges that the railway engineers have faced, particularly given the terrain and also because of the security situation. If our engineers have done it, and we have already seen there have been 2-3 trial runs over that line, very soon it will be declared open, the last part from Baramulla onwards. These are things which one cannot conceive could actually happen someday. And it's happening, Shakal.
Yes. With that, weeding out of policy paralysis, Anil, a quick one, and how India is leading the way when it comes to artificial intelligence, and also that point on how Kisan, Jawan, Vigyan are going to be very central towards realizing the dream of Viksit Bharat. Anil?
Well, one takes a look at this particular, president's speech. You did make mention about agriculture. What would one read from the president's address? It indicates, certain messaging that it happens. It almost looks like, growth and stability to be the two key factors that one should look forward to the budget. And purely based on those two, key topics that we are talking about, there are many signals that one can expect from this particular speech that the president has made. It almost looks like an alignment, with the past budget and speeches that the president has made. But it also, gives you a fine print of the future economic priorities that the government has. And I think this particular speech that the president is today done in the joint session, she's spoken about a bold economic roadmap ahead that the government tries to project, with a focus clearly on growth and governance. Correct. Along with global engagement. I think that's the highlight of the issue that she raised very pretty late in her speech, but global engagement that India, the role that India has in global engagement, and the government's pro-poor, pro-business, and reform-driven agenda that's going to be, top of the agenda for the government in the budget and
Okay.
in the
We take Anil, please stay stand.